Hello everybody, welcome to WhatCulture Gaming. I'm Scott, joined by Josh.
Hello, Scott.
Josh, my friend, we lived on Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War Black Ops, Black Cold War Ops all weekend, and we've got plenty of things to say. I think I'm more positive on it than you, but we just thought we would do a general sort of breakdown of the thoughts of this year's Call of Duty, because there's a hell of a lot of talking points going around as to even the necessity of this year's installment based on the fact that Modern Warfare is still flying and is still, for now, it is the best Call of Duty so far, and also all the skill-based matchmaking controversy, the way that, a lot of the fan base think that they've tweaked the way that people come together, versus some of the actual programmers on past Call of Duties tweeting things like, look, we've always done it this way. What's your general thoughts on your time with Black Ops Cold War Black Ops so far?
Very conflicted, Scott, especially because I was one of the people who did love Modern Warfare, the 2019 one. I know there was a huge subsection of the Call of Duty fan base that actually didn't like that game's multiplayer at all and was kind of waiting. Yeah, man, there's like dude, go on any of the forums, like, a lot of the people didn't like it. They want to return to the olden games, but I really loved it, and I feel like even if you might not have enjoyed the tweaks made to the the actual multiplayer as well, moving away from the conventional 3-lane map design, changing the openness of the spaces, stuff like that, I think you can probably kind of say without hesitation that the presentation-wise, COD Modern Warfare was like impeccable, like from the sounds to the look of the guns to even like the UI. It was slick, it was clean, it was great. And I just feel like when it comes to this new game, there's something lacking. We know that this isn't the exact engine that was used for Modern Warfare. It's Treyarch's own, has always used its own spin-off version essentially. And I think you can feel it like going back to it. I feel like I've taken the advancements in Modern Warfare for granted in a way. Going back to like this older version, it does feel a little bit dated in my eyes. It feels a bit sluggish.
Do you mean like the movement and stuff, like the general feel
the movement and the shooting? Yeah, the general feel of it. It feels like a little bit sluggish and a little bit unresponsive, yet without the weight and presence of Modern Warfare, if that makes sense. Like there was something about it where, maybe it's because I played so much Modern Warfare, jumping into it, I didn't have that instant click with it. Something just felt off, and it took me a bunch of matches to try and kind of figure out why. I don't know whether it's the lack of recoil in the guns, the way they've changed how you take damage, or even the differences in the maps, or what. There was just, for me personally, being a huge Modern Warfare fan, from the core of it, it felt a little bit of a step back in a lot of ways, to be honest. And I might get a lot of flack for that, but I'm interested to see what have to say.
I was going to say that the general reception so far seems pretty mixed. I mean, like I said, going into it, it's very much like, okay, this I mean, it's a wider sort of business thing, but like they have this whole idea of, annual Call of Duty installments. But as the industry's changed across this generation, you've got this influx of, games as a service and games that we're going to plug stuff into across different months and, in some cases, years. And it's not that Call of Duty hasn't had map packs before, but like I said, I feel like Modern Warfare is one of the strongest Call of Duties so far. And it's not like that thing hasn't been supported, like, week in, week out. So this one, going into Black Ops Cold War, it's like, okay, what can you actually offer that is fundamental to the experience? Why do we need to go and see this when you already have this other thing ticking over that plenty of people are still enjoying? And for the people that maybe didn't get on board with that game's multiplayer, if this can't satisfy that old school feel, then it's not going to work. I think for me, it's just the thing that I really loved is the level design, because the way that I thought that they were answering, how can this spin-off sort of justify itself? It was the level design. I forget the exact name of that boat level, but there's one where there's like a couple of capsized ships and there's one main tanker in the middle. And you just immediately have a sense of verticality because you can just jump straight in the water, go underneath different ships, flank people in like full 3D space, which they have done before. And I played a hell of a lot of Black Ops 4, but I thought that they were embracing that in a way that made it feel a bit more differentiable. Like it gave me, in some cases, a Halo vibe, where I was thinking of, like I said, I was thinking in 3D space in a way that I didn't in Modern Warfare, where that game is, immaculate one-on-one encounters or like ground-based, I don't know, horizontal encounters in a way that I think Black Ops Cold War encourages you to like jump on a zipline, get around someone, flank them, get above them, come down on them from above. Things like that, like, you were saying, outside of this recording, that they've been tackling stuff like the life bars and, they brought the swimming in Black Ops 4 and little like visual things that sort of differentiate it. But for me, this kind of brought them together in a way that was so upfront, it was so playful and experimental in a way that I don't think Modern Warfare is. Not that I adore Modern Warfare as well.
Yeah.
But the stuff that this brings to the table, like I said, those gamey elements of like, you're forever in that level, for example, you're forever on zip lines, you're forever swimming under stuff, and fighting people in that way. And if that's the level design ethos that they embrace, then I'm all for that personally. Even though it gets a bit closer to like where Black Ops 4 went, and it's a bit more over the top and whatever. But I like that stuff. But I also know exactly what you mean. It does feel different. It does feel off if you like that tenacity of Modern Warfare, of the previous game.
100%. I feel like there is a differentiation between the bigger game modes that we got to try in the alpha rather than the regular kind of team deathmatch, because for me, the regular team deathmatch modes, those have been waning in excitement for me for a long time in Call of Duty. Even in Modern Warfare, I try not to pick those modes because I've done it to death, Scott. I've been doing this for 10 years, year in, year out.
Longer than that, yeah.
I need a bit more. So for me, like that map that you mentioned there with the boats and the going underwater and like jumping on vehicles and stuff, those bigger game modes, they've always appealed to me a bit more recently because I'm a huge fan of the Battlefield franchise as well. But even then, I was only comparing it to Ground War from Modern Warfare, which has more players, has these bigger maps. And yes, you are right that it doesn't necessarily have those extra elements of, being able to go underwater and stuff that has become a sort of Black Ops staple. So I'm interested to see where they go from that. But again, even in terms of kind of like player count and verticality, like being able to go up the skyscrapers in Modern Warfare, smash through doors, go into buildings, interiors and stuff, even things like that, like being able to smash through a door and go into a building, I felt like, why isn't that here or implemented in the same way? There was just small step backs. And it's not that it's a bad game. It's just that for me, I've become so accustomed to this one particular version of Call of Duty that it's taken a lot to kind of unlearn some of those behaviors or stuff, I guess, and go back to
one thing that
classic.
I really wonder about is how much they're trying to poach the Battlefield fandom, because Battlefield hasn't been strong for a while, like a long enough time where there's a contingent of Battlefield fans. I mean, you're obviously a Battlefield fan, but like, you want these bigger, larger play spaces, larger, conflicts and stuff. And that Modern Warfare, the Ground War stuff, felt very much like they were trying to poach the Battlefield crowd. And for me, I don't want that at all. Like, that's not why I play Call of Duty. I want the most focused, intense stuff. Like, I'm forgetting all the map names, but I forget that really tiny one that they brought back in Modern Warfare. And the one where is it just called Container, where it's just like there's a whole bunch shipment containers, where everything's tight as hell, and it's just like razor's edge whether you're going to win or lose. Like that level of tenacity is what I want from Call of Duty. Not every level to be as tiny as that, but I want constant engagement, which is why stuff like I don't care about Warzone and I don't care about the bigger levels, because I don't want to be running for 5 minutes to have a 10-second encounter, die and then do it again. I want that constant engagement with Call of Duty, and so like I said, that is a positive in terms of Black Ops Cold War, depending on the level, because one of the other levels in the alpha is the that Arctic snow tundra level, which is a lot more open-ended, and that gave me the Battlefield vibes again, where I was getting sniped from across the map and I was just trying to run to different checkpoints and stuff like that, and I was like, this for me is not why I play Call of Duty. So I see them as one of the biggest IPs in gaming, and I see them going like, we could potentially bring some people across from Battlefield, but that for me it isn't going to work. It's always going to be the levels that encourage you to engage with players in the most direct way, and then like I said, you can bring in some elements of Halo, but it has to still feel like Call of Duty.
Yeah, totally, man. I really get that. Like the bread and butter is kind of like these smaller, almost like 3-lane maps, like constant engagement and stuff. But I wonder just how much more they can do with that. We've had iterations on that for games upon games upon games. And for me, one of the most refreshing things about Modern Warfare, and hopefully from this game, was like the wider modes. Like in Modern Warfare, you had like the gunfight mode, which was like this 2v2, 3v3 thing. You had the Ground War, you had the Warzone, you had all of these different modes tackling a bunch of different things, to the point where I think it was kind of like catering to everyone, maybe a bit off more than it can chew. So when it comes to like Black Ops, I'm not necessarily there for the classic Call of Duty cake, I guess. A lot of people will be, but for me, I'm interested in the campaign, I'm interested in zombies, I'm interested in the bigger modes in multiplayer and what they do with Warzone. And all of that is kind of like to come in time, but fundamentally, I'm just in such a weird spot with it because it is the one year where I think they could have taken a year off. Obviously, they're going to make so much money from selling this, but this is the first foot forward for a whole generation. The first, Call of Duty coming out on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. You know what I mean? I feel like I don't want it to be Ghosts. I don't want it to be another Ghost scenario. And then you get with the controversy surrounding the skill-based matchmaking stuff, which everyone is completely kicked off about. Like, that was a big complaint about Modern Warfare and why people didn't like that title. And it appears as if that has transferred over to this new game. And it's just like, I don't know. We already know this game was kind of rushed and stapled together after a development fallout, and I feel like you can just see it when you play it. I don't want to see it, but I feel like those fingerprints are just all over it in a way.
I think that the franchise has a bit of, not necessarily an identity crisis, but I feel like they're figuring themselves out all over again. Like this, it is one of the longest running franchises, especially annual franchises, that we've had in gaming. Like if you take away sports games, and it is that thing of like, yeah, like you said, like Black Ops has these identifiable elements, the zombie stuff, like the increased sort of mobility, and like, you know, they're advertising this new campaign, which is hopefully, you know, there's more to it than what the last Modern Warfare's campaign was. And it's like that thing, if you're like their brand manager or you're approaching the Call of Duty brand overall, then should Modern Warfare keep going? Do they keep supporting that over here? And you can do gunfight and you can do the old school, like, you know, tenacious multiplayer, and then Black Ops can be this more experimental thing with zombies, and you try and flesh those things out so they have meaning outside of each other or next to each other. But then also the generation stuff, I don't think they've addressed what the hell is happening with Modern Warfare on next gen. Like, assumedly, you know, we know about backwards compatibility, so maybe you can put the disc in, but they haven't talked about like next gen upgrades or anything like that. As far as I know,
dude,
Black Ops Cold War.
Right, dude. Get this, they've got, I'm pretty sure they've got 3 different versions. They've got the next gen version, they've got the regular version, but then they've got a middle version, which is like $10 more, where you can buy it, and that enables the cross-gen stuff. So it's very confusing.
What?
And very Activision. Yeah, it's like, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I saw 2 weeks ago. You've got essentially like 3 versions of the game, the 2 next-gen versions, and then you can opt into a cross-gen.
I tell you what, man, the
graduation thing.
The overall approach to cross-generation stuff, like now that you know, Microsoft sort of threw open the gates, and then like obviously like various companies have had to try and tackle it in different ways, to the point where it feels like it comes down to each individual company to be like, you know, well, we don't want to not charge you for cross-gen stuff. We don't want to charge you for, you know, we don't want to give you a remaster for free. Why would we do that? And it's like every individual company responds to that differently. CDPR were like, you can totally have a remaster. We don't care. You know, as long as you bought one version of Cyberpunk. Whereas like Sony with Spider-Man is like, no, you're gonna have to fork out for the remaster. We're not going to give you an automatic upgrade, but you can do the game for free on backwards compatibility. It's just that whole thing, like, you know, Activision being in the middle of that, deciding what side they're going to take or what prerogative they're going to prioritize, like, that's just a whole other thing, especially with Call of Duty, because if they can milk another unit cost or a unit sale out of a consumer, they'll 110% do that.
Yeah, it's like, it's such a weird kind of, I don't know, generation to be going into, because like you said, there is no unifying push towards one price point. We've got a bunch of people, bunch of different publishers doing different things. We've got some people committing to a $70 price point. We've got publishers saying, no, we're not going to go that high. It's just like, please, just make this as simple as possible. Come on.
Yeah, it could do with like some sort of console mandate thing, but I guess like the one time that a console mandate was brilliant was when on the Xbox 360, when Xbox Live Arcade launched, and Microsoft made sure that everyone who had a game on there would have to have a demo. And I know it's not related to this necessarily, but the idea of a consumer knowing what they're going to get, that was just so clear and it was easy. And even if there was a game that was posted on the PlayStation Store, you knew that if you went across to the 360, you would get a demo for it. Like just stuff like that. I would love some sort of mandate that just clarifies all this stuff. But either way, Black Ops Cold War, it's a weird step, like you said. It's a weird, like, you know, it's a weird point in the timeline of Call of Duty to drop something like this, because like you said, if maybe in any other year they maybe would have taken a year off, but if you're crunching the numbers, a next generation console launch, they need a Call of Duty to go alongside that, and it does seem like it's better than Ghosts. Like at least playing it, it plays better than that, which is maybe all they had to do.
Well, this is the thing, man. Like, I've been ragging on it quite a lot this video, but even I'm sure it's going to be good. For me, it's just I hold Modern Warfare so high, and considering like the things that like they haven't seemed to change the stuff that is causing controversy, like the skill-based matchmaking stuff, like that's going to be the real killer for the community, I think. You know, like watching them kind of like react to it, and I don't know, because there's a lot of love for Treyarch. You know, they kind of like leapfrogged Infinity Ward back in the day to become like the top Call of Duty director, and obviously people love the Black Ops brand. It's just I wanted it to be more confident. I wanted it to have a bit more personality. Like take more influence from other Call of Duties. Like, you don't need, like, unify them a bit, you know what I mean? If something works well, don't just disregard it. Like, build upon it, implement it in your version. And I know Track, like I said at the beginning, has its own engine, has its own way of doing things, but like, I don't know, it for the first time in a long time, it does, for me, just feel like half a step back in a way. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, let us think down in the comments below. How have you found, I guess, Activision's approach to doing the platforms for content for Call of Duty over the years? And yeah, does it feel like Black Ops Cold War just doesn't really have an audience, considering everyone's still playing Modern Warfare? For now, I've been Scott from WhatCulture.com.
I've been Josh from WhatCulture.com.
And we'll catch you next time.
Bye.